series of 3 events, and we're really looking today to hear from and get a bit more context from some of the water companies. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping as we do kick off. We're using Zoom. It's not a webinar version, so we'll keep everyone on mute for today. The event is being recorded, so to try and make sure that we have the best shot at getting the right information across that can be shared afterwards. We do have a series of presentations headed up by Jez coming on first, and I'll introduce him in just a moment. We have Slido to ask questions, just because it's a bit easier to manage questions on there. So most people should be familiar with Slido. Just go to Google or type into your search browser Slido, and then you'll be asked for a code. The code is just IWC, so hashtag IWC. You'll see that's already clear for those who haven't used it. We will then be able to prioritize questions and get them across, and hopefully we'll be able to answer everything in this really short session that we have today. If not, we'll make sure we come back to you at another point. You're welcome to use the chat function within Zoom to stay in touch with each other or ask other sorts of questions, but we'll try and aim to ask questions off Slido just to make it easier and fair off there. And thanks, Catherine, you just dropped the link in the chat there for those who haven't seen that. So I'm going to kick off in just a moment. I'm just going to give a tiny bit of context about the fund. Then I'm going to hand over to Jeremy Heath, Innovation Manager at Water, and then we're going to go on through to Ellen from Southern Water, and then to Paul at Welsh Water, just to give this bit of extra context to what water companies are really looking for in this early stages, these early rounds of this competition. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. There we go. Okay, well, so the last few people are joining. That's the quick agenda that we have. Hopefully everyone now can find their way onto Slido and ask those questions. For those who have joined, hopefully you've all seen this. The comms have gone out there, but today we're talking about the Innovation in Water Challenge. That's the first of the competitions available here. There's going to be 2 rounds of £2 million. We're opening up next week on the 18th, and the information, as promised, will be available on sort of opening day in terms of the application form and other parts. Those are all very much close to being sort of handed out on that side. So we're looking forward to getting going fully on that. And today is really about trying to form some of those connections between water companies and potential partners out there, especially for those who don't have any connections at the moment or need that extra information. And just to be really clear, for those who have joined in this, and hopefully it's been clear across the board, is that the lead applicant has to be a water company, and we're looking for, and the other people out there we term partners. That's the water company lead is one of the 17 licensed water and water and wastewater companies in England and Wales, or some of the new entrants. So those are the companies you need to partner up with in order to have an entry for the competition. So slow. My slide's finished. I'm going to hand over to Jez. The only other slide I was going to put onto here was around, it was like the timeline and some of the things we're expecting to see, but I'll segue across to Jeremy, who'll be able to talk a bit about the joined up priorities from the sector and a bit of insights that they've gleaned so far. Jez.
Thank you, Ben. I'm just gonna get my PowerPoint up there. There we go. Hope you can see that. Right. So my name's Jeremy Heath. I'm the Innovation Manager at SES Water. For those that don't know, SES, we are a small water company based just south of London. But I'm also part of the Innovation Managers group, and that is all of the innovation managers across England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales have been getting together and working as a group in order to understand industry priorities and to work as well towards using all this funding that's coming through. So what I'm going to take you through is some of the reasons that we need the innovation, and also how we think you are able to help. Okay, so let's kind of pick up on there. And here we go. So firstly, why innovation? And let's hold our hands up straight away. Some of you may not know the water industry at all. You're coming into it and you're thinking, are the water industry really known for being innovative? And I'll be absolutely honest. Traditionally, we've been cautious innovators. Okay, that's how the water industry works. And part of the reason for that is that we've got a food grade product. Our customers want it to be relatively cheap. They want it always there, and they want it to be pure. With pretty much the lowest utility bill, depending upon where you live, but pretty much the lowest utility bill. We are 99.9% available and 99.9% pure. There's not a lot you can go from there. And the trouble always with innovation is that when you look at something like that and you go, okay, we're going to do something to your network, we're going up with an innovative way of running your network, the concern would always be, is that going to affect availability and purity? Because if it does anything to those, it's going to be on a negative level, maybe at first. So we are cautious innovators, let's be honest, okay? However, a number of factors now mean that companies have got to embrace innovation, okay? That's got to change. And I'll list some of the factors here. You kind of come across them. Climate change and the supply-demand gap. London is listed as the 8th most likely capital city in the world to run out of water, and that comes as a surprise. Everybody associates England with rain. But actually, there is a huge supply-demand gap. So demand is growing faster than our supply resources are there. And therefore, we've got to do something about it from that side. Low and zero carbon commitments. The water industry is the 4th largest energy user in the UK. Moving water around is extremely expensive. Okay, we've got to lower our carbon and look at, as we say, low or zero carbon commitments there. And leakage reduction, a huge one come through in the last few years. All companies have committed to a minimum of a 15% reduction over the next 5 years, with some companies more than that. And let's make no bones about that. That is going to be extremely challenging to do. Okay, it's going to be an extremely hard job to drive down leakage. There's a lot of innovation work going on in that area because of this. And then individual company challenges. Whilst what I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to, rather than talk about SES challenges, I'm going to talk about industry challenges, recognize that each individual water company will have their own priorities and challenges as well. And what I'm going to do at the end is give you some ideas and links about how you can find out about what an individual water company is trying to solve at the moment. Okay, and welcome the Ofwat Innovation Fund. Fantastic, because this allows us to proceed with innovation, in an unprecedented way. We've never been like this before. For me, this is wildly exciting times. I've been in the industry for 25 years and I've never known anything like this. So I think it's a great opportunity. We just want to make best use of it. So, okay, where do we need to do innovation? So let's start off with the kind of solutions that we're looking for. And do you know what? They could be a wide range in there: materials, process technology, sensors, comms, data, design, business models, behavioral sciences, science, human-centered, development, regulation, application systems thinking. There's a real wide gamut of solutions that we're looking for out there. And you're thinking, that's fantastic, and everybody, I imagine, is now looking at that list and trying to pick your own company's solution out from there. Brilliant, because that's the kind of thing we're looking for. But okay, we're looking for collaborative projects, and there's this real thing here with the innovation and water challenge is the size of that 50 to 250k range. Okay, looking for things that will accelerate implementation and rollout. What kind of TRL, technology readiness levels, are we looking for? A range of those. Some of these are going to be near market solutions. You've got something that's nearly ready, but you've got some last stages of proof that you need to go through. You need to be able to test it in certain environments before you're sure of it. And it needs that kind of push to get it over, the valley of death stage and things like that. Certainly looking for those, but also we're interested in early TRL stuff as well. And it's been quite encouraging to hear that from the regulators that they believe we should be doing for that as well. And that will be where we need to validate, demonstrate less mature technologies in order to demonstrate the effectiveness of bringing them into our industry. But there is one caveat that I need to place on it, okay? And there are things that we're not interested in. And by that, I mean, consultancy, paper-based studies, demonstrations of commercially available products. I've had a number of approaches from companies already that are interested in the innovation in water fund, typically coming from outside the UK, who say, we've got a product and we're marketing it successfully in this country or that country. They've already got an existing product. And my pushback always there is, okay, where's the innovation? If you're going to be doing something different with that, fantastic. Okay, if there's some way you want to advance that product, brilliant. But we don't want stuff that's commercially available at the moment. That's not the purpose of this. Okay, solutions with no prospect of integration into existing water systems. There's some things that just simply will not work by trying to integrate them in. Having said that, there's certain technologies that I'm really interested in where it works in another industry and you take that and apply that into ours, fantastic. And then obviously solutions that offer no prospect of outcompeting existing solutions. We've got certain ways of doing things at the moment. What we're looking for is better ways of doing it. Okay, so if that's where we need our kind of innovation, the kind of big things there, you're all asking, okay, what's the specific kind of projects? Okay, so look, in December this year, I went to all of the other innovation managers and I said, look, we need to do an exercise to kind of highlight the areas where as a industry, we're most interested in innovation. Let's try and give the supply chain some steer on where we're looking for solutions, okay? So we got together as an industry and we took our 7 themes, and I'm going to show you the 7 themes in a moment. These are the broad themes that we have that encapsulate the whole of our water industry. But the 7 themes were too wide, so we kind of subdivided it down into 31 discrete areas, okay? By way of example, leakage is one of those areas, okay? And then we can understand the industry appetite for innovation in each of those areas. And I need to put a number of caveats on this, okay? Because it could be easy to look at that list and go, oh, why is so-and-so not on the list? Do water companies not consider it to be important, okay? What it doesn't show is insight into relevant importance of those areas. It doesn't tell you that at all, okay? So if something is not on our top list there, it doesn't mean it's not important. What the list does is it shows those areas where water companies as a whole were particularly seeking innovative solutions. Okay, so if it doesn't appear, and I'm going to show you in a second the kind of top 8 that we've got, if it doesn't appear on those, yeah, it means that either water companies are satisfied, they've got current tools and methodologies, yeah, that will help them to achieve that goal, or maybe it is seen as a slightly lower priority within the water industry because there's bigger fish to fry, as they say. Okay, and the final ranking, or the list that I'm going to show you here, it doesn't represent the unique priorities and challenges of each water company. You'll be able to go to a water company and go, oh, well, Jez said this, and that water company will go, well, yes, we took part in that exercise, but actually our own priorities look like this. Each company can and will have markedly different priorities as well. So, okay, where does that take us? Here's our 7 themes. So let's just start off with those. That's how we break the industry down. Now, there's a really good document, our innovation strategy document, that sets this all out and explains what each of those areas encompasses. And part of that is included in the document that that we're going to be able to share with you. But you can get it from the website as well. Put some links up at the end where you can go and grab hold of that. And as I said, we broke that down into 31 discrete areas. And then what I did is I asked all of the water companies to say, okay, if you had a choice, where do you want innovation to occur? Okay, out of these 31 areas, where's your top areas? And what I've done is I've taken that back and I've picked out the top 8. And I said, okay, give me your top 8 areas where we're looking for innovation, and here they are. Okay, I'm going to go through those in a second. They're not in any particular order. In fact, what I've done is I've just grouped them around the themes. But these are our top 8 areas where we're looking for innovation. And I'm just going to go through briefly and kind of explain what those kind of mean. Okay, so how might we redesign drinking water supply? Okay, so that's very much looking at our low energy treatment processes, low chemical processes that we can do as well. How do we do better management of water resources, abstraction? How do we look at monitoring water quality as well? Okay, and then you can see that follows on into the next one down, which is far more specific about monitoring water quality all the way through our network. Okay, improved methods of monitoring water from catchment to tap. Okay, so catching it all the way through. Net positive. Okay, how do we get to net zero carbon, minimal waste and natural capital? Okay, and again, you'll see that that one is covered elsewhere as well. So monitoring of assets. How do we monitor our assets to respond correctly to rapidly changing environments and unpredicted events? Effectively, I'm talking about interruptions to supply there, okay, or the beast from the east. things like that come through, and our network suddenly goes down. We get a burst occurring, customers out of water. How do we come up with systems that allow us to respond very quickly to those, that tell us what's going on? Part of smart networks will fall into that particular area there. How do we measure the current condition of our assets? Remember, our assets are above and below ground as well, accurately predict their deterioration and know how and when to intervene. Okay, we have a large amount of asset base that's buried 1 meter below ground. It's very, very hard to tell the condition. And there's been a lot of work going on in that area to try and understand the condition better. But because we want to drive down leakage, that's one of the areas that impinges greatly upon that. We want to make sure that we're replacing the right pipes. And it's really tricky. The public don't want us digging up roads or want us to minimize that. And we want to make sure we're digging up the right mains. So yeah, condition assessment of assets, really important to us. And of course, above ground as well. How do we decarbonize energy and transport emissions through avoidance, efficiency, and alternatives to fossil fuel? And as I said, we are the 4th largest user of energy in the UK. Okay, so there's a lot of things in there about pumping regimes, okay, but also I think about simple things like, smart vehicles and how we manage our transport fleet as well. Okay, how might we sustainably eliminate leakage across water company networks and customers' pipes? That's one of the areas that I'm particularly interested in. I'm the program lead for leakage with Uckware. So I was really pleased to see that was viewed as quite important by the water companies. It is a huge issue. We've got to drive down leakage by 15%. If it had been 5%, every company would have said, I'll just do a bit more of the same. Okay, 15% is a step change for our companies, and it's going to be really hard to do. We're desperate for innovation there. One of the things, and I'll just talk about this briefly, when we talk about leakage, I tend to use the acronym PALM. Okay, there we go, stands for Prevent, Aware, Locate, and Mend. I did a study last year to look at how much innovation is occurring in those areas. And it became very, very clear that while there's quite a bit of innovation occurring in awareness and location, we are failing in terms of prevention. There's some innovation there, but I'd love to see a lot more. But very little innovation in our mend technology. We're still using the same method that the Romans did, which was dig a big hole, cut out the bad bit and piece through. And I'd really like to see some great innovations coming through that allow us to mend pipes faster and therefore reduce the leak time. So so leakage is extremely important. And then how might we better engage with our customers about how they think and feel about water, embed behaviours with our customers so that they realise that water is a scarce resource. And a lot of this is down to getting the message of the value of water to customers. That's about smart metering. It's about that relationship that we have with customers, that they understand how much water are they using, okay? How can they make better use of that water, okay? So a lot of things in that area as well. The actual document that this goes in, we're going to be publishing on our website, and that will give you a greater insight because there will be more detail in there as well. And what I will do is just show you, for example, so this is the area that I was talking about here with leakage. And you can see that although there's a broad challenge here on leakage, how might we sustainably eliminate leakage across water company networks and customer pipes, which is what I've already talked about, but how that breaks down into specific challenges that we're trying to solve underneath. And there you can see I've talked about how do we make pipe repairs quickly, economically, and with minimum disruption as well. So there's a wealth of detail that goes underneath this as well, where you can go and have a look and find out which particular areas there might be underneath there that will help you. So what I want to do is then finally talk about how do we do innovation. And obviously the key bit from supply chain is, okay, I've got my innovation. I think that it's going to answer one of your questions. How do I let you know about that? Okay, how do I contact customers and talk to them about this kind of thing? So number one is go through the Water 2050 website. Okay, again, links up there for it. That's also got the innovation strategy document with a wealth of detail in there about our strategy as water companies together in terms of managing innovation. And you can email as well. So contact@waterinnovation2050.org.uk, and then that will get sent round to all of the water companies as well. Okay, so I receive emails from that as well that say, here's an innovation. And because it's coming through as a joint area, it means that as innovation managers, we can discuss amongst ourselves collaboration as well and say, I'm interested in that as well, and we're working in collaborative areas. So there's some good collaboration that can come through that as well. One thing I would heartily recommend is go and look at the AMP plans, okay? If you want to understand what water companies are trying to do, have a read of their AMP plans and have a look at their final determinations. Now, most companies will share a number of common features that they've got to do through their final determinations, okay? Their performance commitments, okay? And they will share those, but often companies will have individual performance commitments as well, okay? That they have to achieve. And that will give you a really good guide into what they're doing. I would heartily recommend you doing that anyway. Anytime you talk to a water company, read their AMP plan. I actually make a note when a supplier comes to me and wants to sell me something or wants to demonstrate something to me, he gets a positive tick if he's actually read my asset management plan and knows what my problems are. I read their website before they come and visit me. It's really nice when companies do the same to me and read my website and understand what my problems are. Look at their current performance. Discover Water, and I put a link up on there as well. This is a really excellent website that basically sets out the water industry across the UK and its performance in various areas. The nice thing is you can drill down into individual companies. So you want to know what a company's leakage level is. You can drill down to that kind of level of detail or their water quality standards. And you can actually understand what their current performance is. Again, if you've got an innovation you think is going to be particularly useful, you may want to use that to look at that company and find which companies have got the biggest issues there, and that will help you target there. You can, of course, contact individually. You can go through the company website, but Ofwat have nicely collated them all together. I put the link up on there as well, and you can use that to click through and go straight through to the various company innovation websites and contact companies individually on that as well. And finally, I put other resources up on there. How will we achieve zero leakage in a sustainable way by 2050? That's my own one, actually, from my UCWI Big Question. Well, that is effectively, that's a guide to leakage innovation in the UK at the moment. It's 320 projects that are going on in the UK at the moment on leakage. The reason I put that up there is that kind of resource that will help you understand who's working on what at the moment or who has a need in a particular area. So if when I've gone through this, you're particularly interested in leakage innovation, I'd recommend going to have a look at that site and download the leakage innovation heat map. It will give you a good understanding of what we're working on at the moment and where there might be gaps in that knowledge. And yeah, I put out a personal plea there as well. If you have issues with, or if you've got particular leakage innovations, give me a shout, because it's my particular area I'm very interested in. I'm going to stop talking there and hand back over to Ben, but I'm sure there'll be some questions coming back from that.
Thanks, Jez. And thanks for running through that. So there's lots of information there, especially for those people who haven't maybe seen that much from the sector before. So thanks for providing those links. One further one that I would add is that you can contact ourselves at ISLE or the Nest email address, which I put up there as well, because we can help maybe signpost in another way. So just another layer of people there who might be able to help. But yeah, some really useful stuff, and I'm sure we'll get some more questions. So we'll hand on to those shortly. One piece of housekeeping I think I neglected was that if people keep their cameras off, that helps the bandwidth for everybody else around here. So when the presenters aren't speaking, we'll keep them off. That will help. And we have one late addition to the agenda. Ollie Road from South West Water is going to speak at the end of the water company speaker. So you'll hear from one more water company speaker. I'll hand over to Ellen now, who's just going to speak with no slides, I think, but just to give the Southern Water perspective.
Hello, thank you. Just allowed unmuting there. Yeah, I just wanted to give a bit of a voiceover about, obviously, Jez has done a really good job of explaining through the challenges that we face as a collective. And obviously, we've spent quite a bit of time pulling all of those together and working up a really good strategy document that brings all of that together for the industry and the sector. How that kind of translates, I guess, to each individual company is really important. And obviously some of them will be more important to us than other ones. So from Southern Water perspective, we're based in the south east of the UK, and we have, for those of you who don't know, we have got a large amount of coastal regions. So that poses quite a big problem for us in terms of additional pressures. And we also, being in the south, we have probably, like Jez articulated, about Thames being and the London area being a problem for climate change and water scarcity, and we have that in the south of England as well. So really looking at, we've got population growth, and the water scarcity challenges are really, really real. They're coming soon, and how we respond to those is probably more of a pressure on the more southern based water companies than some of the others. From a Southern Water perspective, we're also quite challenged in that we have quite a lot of densely populated areas, but we also have a lot of really rural areas, and those are pretty much protected by national parks, areas of outstanding natural beauty, sites of specific scientific interest. So actually, as you can imagine, that puts like another layer of challenge on. So we're restricted by the coast, restricted by a lot of the South Downs National Park, and then we've got really densely populated areas in between those two. So actually, sort of responding to challenges relating to like capacity increase and that sort of thing are really are probably like a real problem for Southern over perhaps some of the other water companies. In terms of a sort of more granular view of our problems, or challenge areas, should we say, problem statements. So we're doing quite a bit of work looking at how we can make both our waste and our water networks more like intelligent networks. So actually, how can we sort of operate and maintain them better in a more knowledgeable way? So kind of working down the route of more, I suppose people would call it more smart network approaches. And that covers all aspects of it, so sort of people side through to analytics, and also physical technologies for how you can receive that information. So obviously there's a huge amount of potential innovation across the piece there. And also looking at sort of environmental challenges. So obviously when we are releasing like our final effluent into the environment, we have a lot of permits that we have to meet through sort of put on us by the Environment Agency, but also obviously to protect the environment. And there's a lot of sort of improvements in our ability to meet those that we need to respond to. So there's specific sort of more technical wastewater process technology that we need to look at to be able to meet those as well, plus more catchment-led approaches. So really looking at like what can we do before it gets to our works, and how do we work with our communities and other stakeholders in our environment to help us achieve that in a more natural way. One of the other specific challenges we have really echoed in some of the pieces that Jez was talking about relates to energy consumption. So it's a huge cost to the industry, and obviously as a whole nation and world, we're trying to achieve like more carbon neutral approaches. So how can we put in practice like more, even if it's smaller initiatives that could build up to be bigger ones, like what are those things that we could be doing and should be doing to actually really reduce our sort of our net energy position as a business. And then I think the other key one, which I touched on before, is around actually how do we respond to having a more like a slightly different approach to capacity increases, rather than just needing to build huge capital infrastructure to respond to like increasing population. What could we be doing differently to actually do things in a greener and more sustainable way? And all of that overall in the lens of actually making it more cost effective for the customer. So obviously everything that we do is really in the lens of the customer and the environment. And yeah, thank you. I'll hand back to Ben now. Hopefully that gives a bit of an articulation of some of the more localized challenges and how they present themselves.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ellen. That really helps. And hopefully everyone on the call can begin to see this kind of what we presented at the beginning. Jez has given us sort of a picture where water companies have joined up and shared priorities, but the nuances between water companies are there as well. And Ellen's articulated a few of those, which I'm sure people have picked up upon and will be available for some questions at the end as needed. Thanks, Ellen. Next, we're heading further west, we're heading out to Wales. We've got Paul Gaskin, who's going to present briefly on some of the more specific challenges for Welsh water.
There we go. I'm unmuted, hopefully, so hopefully you can all hear me now. I'm also going to try and share my screen. Screen. That's not going to work. Yes, it will. Sorry, apologies. Share. And then if I go to that, hopefully you can see that now, the PowerPoint. So thanks, Ben. My name is Paul Gaskin. I'm the Water Services Research and Innovation Manager. Quick plug, if my internet dies or anything, please visit our website, www.documry.com/innovation. And everything I say you'll find on there anyway. So I'd like to just start with our vision in Welsh Water, which is to earn the trust of our customers every day. That's runs through everything we do, including innovation. So from there, back in 2017 time, we started looking at what's going to happen in the future and how's the world and how's Wales going to look in 2050. So looking at challenges like climate change, demographic change, regulatory change, economic change. And then we came up with 18 strategic responses so that we could become a truly world-class, resilient and sustainable water service for the benefit of future generations. And that's important in Wales because we have the Future Generations Act, which sets out how companies and how individuals and everyone else should act to enable future generations to live a prosperous and healthy life, etc. So moving on from there, one of the things we did in innovation was we looked at what research and innovation we need to answer our strategic responses. So the first one here I've put up is safeguarding clean drinking water through catchment management. And basically every ray here, if you like, is fair game for you to come up with some ideas to help us. And there's 18 of these in different stages of development, but we're keen to hear from you if you've got answers to those specific problems we've put down in those. You can download that from our website. But to move to some of our top priorities, and some of them will have overlapped with what Jez said and Ellen. So smart networks, both on the water and waste side. When are we going to have a problem? How do we operate our water networks in a calm way? When are we going to see sewer blockages? Can we predict them before they happen and cause a pollution event? Treatment efficiency. In Wales, in Welsh Water, we have over 800 wastewater treatment plants. So some of them serve very small populations in rural locations. How can we actually get to those in a quicker and more efficient way? Or can we use AI and some other ways of understanding what's happening so we don't have to visit them? Equally on the water treatment side and increasingly on the wastewater side, how do we how do we cut chemical usage? Can we use AI to keep our works working well and within compliance, but at the lowest possible cost? Improving resilience. If we just look back at last year, we had Storm Dennis, which actually flooded a couple of our water treatment works, one rather severely. We had lots of sewer flooding. And then straight on the back of that, we had a global pandemic. And then we also had a drought, or one of the driest summers we've had, with everybody at home drawing water in different patterns than we're used to. Customer acceptability is a big one on the water treatment side. So that's discoloration and taste. We have 11,000 kilometres of unlined cast iron main in various states of decay, and how can we sort those issues out? Reductions in supply interruptions and leakage. So if we have an interruption in supply, how can we get there quickly, repair and get back on board? and also with leakage. Jez has mentioned that, so I won't go on with that. Circular economy, how can we make value out of our wastes to move forward? So at the moment, all our sludge is spread to land, and that's quite economic for us, and it does give benefit. But are there other ways we can use that sludge to get more benefit from it? Carbon, I think Jez and Ellen mentioned carbon being a big one for all the water companies, really. How can we reduce our carbon footprint and get to a net zero value or even a positive value? Customer satisfaction, obviously if we put everything in place, we'll get that right. But when things do go wrong, how can we use things like AI for our call centre to know something's going to go wrong and staff up appropriately so we can answer questions? And how can we let people know beforehand? And that should lead to complaint reduction as well. And one of the other things we're very keen on, especially in Wales, is supporting our most vulnerable customers. So that's it from me. I will stop sharing and I will go on mute. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think your slides win best photos there of water treatment works and dramatic countryside as well. So some great pictures of Wales across there. Thanks for sharing those. And again, Paul will be around to answer some questions. I can see some coming through on Slido now, so there'll be a chance to ask any sort of clarifications from there. Thank you again, Paul. So we are Ollie Road from Southwest Water is going to present. I've got his slides here. Just give me a moment. I'll bring those up and then I'll hand
Is that all right, Ben?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Yeah, apologies. I'm having to dial in by my phone, so.
No problem.
Can you see and hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great, okay.
So your slides, you just sent them through, but they disappeared off my screen. So just...
So whilst you're doing that, I can just give myself a quick introduction, if that's all right, Ben, maybe?
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, good afternoon all. Apologies for not being able to share my screen, but I'm joining via my mobile. So homeschooling has nicked the only laptop that would load Zoom. So apologies in advance for that. So my name is Ollie Road. I'm the program manager for CREW, which is the Centre for Resilience and Environment, Water and Waste at Southwest Water. So it's a collaborative R&D and innovation program with the University of Exeter. Some of you may well have heard about it already. So when Ben's uploaded the slides, I just wanted to give you a quick flavour of some of the innovation competition priorities around this first call around the Innovation and Water Challenge. So,
can you see those, Ollie?
When you got those up, Ben, I can just 2 seconds.
They should be up. They're up on my screen.
They're up on your screen, are they? I can't see them at the moment.
Let's see.
I can just see you still.
Hasn't worked for some reason. Sorry, if
that's okay. I mean, if not, I can just do a quick voiceover like Ellen if you want.
Yeah, it might work. Somehow your slides don't want to come up off there. If it hasn't worked, you might be able to talk through them on that side.
That's okay. Well, I mean, I wanted to just be very brief anyway, just give you a bit of a kind of specific flavour around some of the challenges that we're looking for to be solved in this first round. So, I mean, our particular focus in this Innovation and Water Challenge first round is got a bit more of a specific focus on wastewater and resilience. So as you'll see there from those pictures, we've got 3 kind of main challenges that we'll be looking at. So those are mostly centered around biosolids. We've spoken about them before already, and sludge into agricultural and other land-based practice. So and look at the contents of microplastics and other emerging contaminants and in those and their effect from a kind of ecological and ecotoxicological basis as well, but more broadly other opportunities around circularity and circular economy models. So that's one of our areas of interest in this first round. you'll all be aware of the need for water companies increase in performance around our sewage and CSOs and storm overflows. So we're very, very, very keen to look at how we can look to harness and leverage innovation and innovative practice and solutions in around that key area, reducing the frequency and also the impact of any CSO and storm overflows. And also around the kind of smart wastewater networks as well, and how we move to a more predictive and preventative analytics within our networks, and how we understand the network and our assets across the the fullest extent, to be able to get on the front foot, be proactive, and not be able to act when it's too late, really. So probably hyped that up quite a bit by kind of having a bit of time to get the screens, but it was just a very kind of brief vision of what we're looking at specifically within this. I mean, notwithstanding, we're interested in the wider context as well, around some of the specific challenges that others have mentioned around carbon, net zero carbon, and our route to decarbonisation. Obviously, other key aspects such as leakage and reduction of per capita consumption, as well as some of the more societal context, behavioural challenges and changes and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, very interested in a broad range of challenges, but I think specifically for this, just wanted to give you a bit of flavour that we're looking at the kind of wastewater context and resilience context. So if you want to get in touch, those are my details there. Thanks very much, and apologies for the slight technical glitch on that, but feel free to get in touch. Happy to take you through some of that in more detail. Thanks.
Thanks, Ollie. Yeah, apologies for that. I all jumped over my different screens all at once. It's always the way. But hopefully you got the sense of it there. The slides will be available afterwards. And yeah, thanks for jumping in there, Ollie, for giving a bit more detail from South West Water's perspective as well. So I think you can see across the board now, for those who have joined in, we've got the overall priorities, which are put together as sort of the current ones, where there's alignment across the whole sector. And you've seen there from various innovation managers how there's slight nuances on some of the things they're really keen to see coming forward. But hopefully you can see that also everyone's really open to these new ideas coming through, and there's different ways of contacting. And the best way is to if you have a specific idea, if you think it is regional, then to go direct to those water companies. There's the people who have presented today, but also on the Ofwat website, you'll see there's the contact details for the other companies who haven't presented today. And also there were links there which were on Jeremy Heath's presentation right at the start. So also use that as a resource. I'm going to hand over, there's a few questions which have come through on Slido, which I can begin to ask. I also know there are a couple of other water companies out there who might just want to say hello whilst we're sort of getting ready to answer a couple of questions. If there's, I know that Dan Green from Wessex and Mike Taylor from Anglian are there. They might just want to say hello and sort of say how they can get in touch with them, just as an opportunity on this call, and then we'll dive into a couple of the questions.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Michael Taylor, I'm Innovation Integration Manager with Anglian Water. Largely very, very similar needs and challenges and opportunities as the others have said already. Specifically, if you guys want to get in contact with us or understand a little bit more about Anglian Water's sort of opportunities and challenges, we have an event later on this month called Water Connect as well. So I'd encourage you to sign up to that. The information I'll drop it in the chat now, where you can sign up to that as well.
Thanks a lot, Mike. I don't know if Dan's still there. If you want to quickly say hello and how they can get in touch with you.
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Am I coming through?
Yep.
Great. Dan Green, I'm Head of Sustainability and Innovation at Wessex Water. I think my contact details are on the Water Innovation page that you referred to earlier, Ben, so you can contact me that way. If you want to see how Wessex Water has engaged with innovation in the past, you can visit our website, but also you may be aware of Wessex Water Marketplace, which has been one area in which we have historically in the last couple of years been putting up innovation challenges, where we've gone out to the market and requested people to put in their suggestions or express their they're interested in partnering up with us on some specific topics where we're trying to solve an issue. So if you want to know a bit more about the way we work and some of the things we've been looking at, that is one place to go and look, Wessex Water Marketplace.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Thanks both for jumping in there. So there's a few more water companies, contact details there and slight insights.